Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick Taking Table. I'm Taylor. You know, I'm not very good at drinking, specifically alcohol. But in the game we're covering today, Dubbe, or Dubbe, the theme is different characters sitting around the table drinking spritzer. I've never had it before, but thought I'd get the ingredients. So, it turns out it's some wine. So we'll pour that. And then also, it's supposed to be a dash of sparkling water. So I think you're supposed to shake this up. And, oh, cheers. Okay, so the game is Dubbe. It's a game by Klaus Geis, who did Ebbs, which we recently covered. After all, this is Europe month. The hook to Dubbe is you don't know what each suit means at the start of the game. You kind of parse it out through the gameplay, but the suits are tied to characters, might be positive or minus points, and they shift around to each player. Kind of a quirky game, but let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. Actually, you know what, before the setup, I think it was a little harsh on this. It's no gin and tonic, but it's not that bad. I'll give the Taylor's Alcohol Award. But, yeah, no, it's not bad. Alright, on to the video. In Dubbe, the deck is made of 5 suits, 1 through 9 in a 2 to 3 player game. Then you add 10, 11, 12 in 4, and 13, 14, 15 in a 5 player game. Here we have set up a 3-player game. So each player will get 15 cards. They'll get to pick a color and have the card for that color and the scoring marker of that color. Then he'll set up the characters and the die for each of the suits and the minus and positive for the score track. To start, the person to the left of the dealer will declare trump after looking at their hand. So let's say Bulbasaur was dealer, so the burger will look at their hand and declare trump. So let's say burger looks at their hand and they think that blue should be trump. So they'll take the trump coaster, put it in front of them, and it always starts at 1. Now what this means is that blue will be trump for the whole hand. After trump is declared, then play goes to the next player, so Donald Duck. So they will actually be playing the first card to the first trick. They have 2 choices here. They can either play the trump color or a new color. So let's say that Donald Duck decides to play trump of blue, and they play this blue 9. So Bulbasaur would have to follow suit, and they would have to play a blue as well. So let's say they played the blue 5. And then coming to Burger here, let's say they played the blue 7. So in Dubbe, these coasters are actually in front of the people as kind of roles at a dinner party. So if you play the highest of a lead suit and win, you actually overcome and take that role. So since Donald played a 9 of trump, they actually would take this trump role and it would slide from Burger over to Donald. But first, if it ever changes ownership, you actually record the current point value and that current owner will get the point value. So in this case, it's a -1. Later, it could be plus any amount. But here, Burger would actually lose a point. So they'd go from 0 to 1, and then it would slide over to Donald Duck, Donald Trump to Donald Duck, and then it would increment up. Because anytime a suit is led that has a die out here, it always increments up after it moves, or if it doesn't move ownership. As an example of a trick not changing ownership, let's say this was a new round and Donald played the 9, Bulbasaur played the 5, and then Burger played the 7. This wouldn't change ownership because the current owner won, but the pip value would go up 1. However, you don't record points because the points only get recorded when it changes ownership. So then you would clean up the trick and just put it off into a communal discard pile. Donald will lead the next trick. So they could have done this on the first trick of the round, but let's say they did this now. So how it works is, if you ever are leading to a suit that hasn't been declared yet, let's say the yellow, you would take the next character in line. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So this scientist here is the next one to come out. So you would take the respective die for the suit and put it at 1. So no one currently owns this yet, and the owner will go to whoever wins the trick. So let's say Bulbasaur played that 6 yellow, and then it comes over to Burger, and they don't have any yellow, so let's say they trump it with a 1 blue. So then Burger would move the Scientist Coaster in front of them, discard these cards, and they would lead the next trick. So we fast forwarded a trick, and Burger played red, which Bulbasaur won. So it went to the negative point, the Yamerlave. And then Bulbasaur led with a 7 green. So it comes down to Yo Lawson. So what's special about this one is it's always 3 no matter what. So the die comes out at 3, and it doesn't go up or down. And so whoever wins this pulls the character in front of them. And how that works is, so let's run out this trick here. And Donald Duck over here doesn't have any green, they don't have any trump, so they slough off just this 1 brown. And if a card that hasn't, or suit that hasn't been declared yet is sloughed off, that doesn't pull that die down. That's only when you lead with it. So 8 wins, and it would go to the Burger here. And so what this means is, in a future round, if anybody were to lead any other suit than green, that Burger does not have to follow suit. So in the next trick, let's go with Burger playing this 3 red, and then Donald Duck has to follow suit with the 4 red, and then Bulbasaur has to play their 5 red. So how it works is, when a suit that's already out was led, the winner will get the suit. If they already own it, it just increases by 1. But if Burger had won it, this would increase to 2, slide over to them, but then Bulbasaur would still record that -1 point that they got. Since Bulbasaur won that last trick, let's say that they led with this 3 brown. So since Burger is the Yolosan, they don't have to follow suit, so they could play whatever they want. So even though they had brown, let's say they really wanted brown, because this just got declared to be positive points. So they actually play this 3 trump. So it comes all the way to Donald over here. He has to play brown, so he just plays that 4. So Burger wins that trick, they'll get this in front of them, and they can lead the next trick. So let's say they led with this 6 brown. So then Donald would have to play brown, so that maybe they try to win it with an 8 brown. And then over here, Bulbasaur plays the 9 brown. So even though that the brown's currently in front of Burger, they'll record this point, so they'll go back to 0. This will slide over in front of Bulbasaur, and it will move to 2. So they effectively have 2 points now. So I fast forward to the end of the game here, and over the course of it, the Yo Lawson bounced around a little bit, and Trump got moved around a lot, so you can see some minus points there. But how the final scoring works is, you look at what's in front of you. So White would get 1 more positive point because of the Scientist. Bulbasaur would get +6 and then -6 points, and Donald would get 0 points. So both of them would actually stay where they're at on the score track. You would play rounds equal to number of players, so in this case 2 more rounds, and whoever has the most points wins. And just to reiterate how the flow of the game works, if a suit is led that isn't out, it comes out starting at 1, and it goes to whoever plays the highest card. If a suit comes out that's already out, it will give points to the current holder, then it will bump to the next number and slide over to the new holder. If the person had already won it, let's say it was like this, then the die would bump up, but the person who currently owns it doesn't get any points. They would just get points either at the end of the game or whenever this leaves them. The only exception to this is the Yo Lawson, which comes in at 3 and never goes up or down. And that is Dubbe. And, you know, it's an interesting game, but I don't think I like it too much. It's not bad. I think the production and the gameplay is tough. So the scoring track is probably one of the most confusing scoring tracks I've seen in a while. The suits are kind of prototypey, just very bland, especially compared to Ebbs. And I think comparing it to Ebbs is kind of by default, because it was his previous game and it was so well received and such an interesting game. You know, the fact that even though the 1 and the 2 and then the 3 on the die is kind of like how they come out, you're always supposed to put 1 on the die, except for the Joe Lawson, which is 4, even though it's always supposed to be +3. So it's kind of just like a super confusing graphic design and confusing to players when they try to learn it. I mean, this is nice that every player has a player color, and I feel like the die is cool. But overall, I feel like the production's kind of just complicated and confusing. And the gameplay is pretty fiddly. So you have a die that goes on the spot, right? And then it goes in front of you, so you move it in front of you. And then if it's lead and it goes to someone else, you have to record the score and then move it to someone and then flip it. It goes in front of them, and it can kind of just like move around a lot. And there's a lot of like moving up and down, the fact that it's positive and minus, and you're like moving back and forth between these score tracks that are confusing because they don't go in a certain way. You know, it's like 1, 2, 4. So it's kind of just all kind of fiddly. So putting that fiddly part aside and the production aside, I think the game itself is interesting at times. It's nice to look around and see the characters in front of people and kind of grok the situation without having to remember who collected what, because cards just go off to the discard pile. It is smooth that way, but the whole gameplay where you're always changing die and always changing the characters in front of people, it kind of loses. What I like about a trick taker is a little bit of like a clean flow, and I think Ebbs had that. And it's tough that this design just gets a little overwrought. And the decisions are still interesting. I think when you choose to play what suit and pull that character in is still interesting. But I just kept feeling like I'd rather play Ebbs, and it never went away. So it's tough because I think Dubbe is an interesting idea. I feel like the execution, maybe, it didn't hit the same heights as Ebbs. So that is Dubbe. And overall, I just kept getting reminded of Ebbs and kind of wanting to play Ebbs. It's an interesting take on the idea of each suit. You don't know what it means at the start. And I think it definitely stands apart from Ebbs, but I feel if you're going to play a game like this, just pick Ebbs, which is tough. It's pretty hard to get to, so seeking this out just to get a game that I think is lesser than is tough too. So don't quite recommend it, but if you do like trick takers where the suit isn't determined and this doesn't look too fiddly to you, maybe check it out. But other than that, thanks for watching.